On today's DNVR Nuggets podcast, the two-man game, me and Harrison Wind, we're going to be giving our hangover takes from a very fun and entertaining game last night. And also, there's 5 things, Harrison, I feel like I know about the Denver Nuggets right now that I didn't know a week ago.
Okay.
Let's break that down, as well as some mailbag questions from you guys. We'll do all that and more on the other side of this countdown. Let's go.
Studio B.
Back in the podcast studio. What we've learned. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Podcast.
Let's go.
Let's go. Presented as always by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Matt Amatis, I'm joined by my esteemed colleague Harrison Wind.
What's up, man? You hungover from last night?
I am hungover.
Yeah.
Not from drinking, not even from the game. A little sleep fatigue, but we'll power through. We got the day off tomorrow. Friday, Saturday, doubleheader for the Nuggets as well. And I'm telling you, man, the Nuggets schedule kind of broke nicely. If you look at it, first game, wake-up call. The Thunder really good.
Such a big wake-up call, we had to redo the entire bench.
It's so true. But it's good that it happened in that order. And then you go to that Clippers game, which I feel like the Nuggets, now in hindsight, we have 4 games. They let that one slip through their fingers. An ugly start. Lessons learned along the way. And if they would have just won that one, 3-1 with how bad they played, would have just felt like, hey, that's probably where they belonged.
Yeah.
And that it's everything's normal. But they dropped that one. And that made these last 2 games so important. They treated them as such. They won. And I know the more negative people out there, and I'm sure they're in your mentions as well, they're looking at it and they're going, well, they beat 2 terrible teams. This team's still terrible. Not the point. Sometimes you just have to win. And I love that Jokic in particular has been banging that drum. Like right now, we just have to learn how to win again. And we did that 2 times in a row. And to be honest with you, most teams, even good teams, would not have pulled out those games that Denver did, given the place they found themselves in. Down 12 with 2 minutes to go, kind of backs against the wall against Brooklyn. They shouldn't have got there to begin with, but the fact that they won actually does tell me something about this team.
Yeah, they could have let go of the rope for sure. Kind of like what happened against OKC. They were in that position in the second half in both those games. And now it's funny, look, you're 2-2. 500. You got a clean slate here heading into this game in Minnesota on Friday. Big game. Can't wait for that. Measuring stick type of game. And the fact that they went 0-2, though, the narrative's already been set nationally for a lot of people.
Almost nice.
Nuggets are bad. They're done. Stick a fork in them. Rebuilding year. They're done. They're bad. But it's going to take a lot to pull out of that national narrative. But that's fine. That's fine because we saw a lot of positives in these last 2 games.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely some positives and still some negatives. This is not
Big
all
negatives.
sunshine and rainbows. There's some things that I don't think are going to be solved in short order. So today in the second and third segment, we will talk about things we know and things we don't yet know, big questions that are surrounding them. But let's give some hangover takes, shall we? Do we have the hangover, Kale? Studio B, I don't know. Do we have the hangover? Can we get a little hangover? Throw it up there. There it is. All right. The hangover takes. My big one is one I talked about on Twitter last night, put it in the preview of the season, and that is the Nuggets' late game offense has been the same for a really, really, really long time. Mm-hmm. Screen the worst defender onto Jamal Murray, flatten out the court, run pick and roll the 2-man game. But last night was the first time that we really saw how teams are going to guard Christian Brown differently. And to me, it's a really fascinating thing. And I'm glad it was Brooklyn because Denver was able to overcome it, even though it was a little clunky.
Yeah, they have overcome it. And I love that they've had to win both these games in the clutch.
Yep.
Like that experience for this team in a new starting 5 and some other new pieces around that starting 5, that's huge at this point in the season. And it kind of feels like they might have found their new clutch time offense, and that's just get the ball to Nikola Jokic. Have you seen his clutch stats?
I saw him because I follow Harrison Wind with alerts.
23 points in the clutch already, 7 of 10 shooting, plus 17 in 18 clutch minutes.
It's pretty good.
Unreal.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's been a monster, and honestly, I love that you said you're glad that they had to go through the clutch against bad teams that are probably like Brooklyn's probably not going to be good in the clutch this year.
I wouldn't think so.
Toronto probably not. And if Denver was playing a team even of the Atlanta Hawks' caliber, they probably lose both games in the clutch because Denver still could push the Nikola Jokic button enough times and it worked enough. But why I like that they did it is it almost works as preseason in that they got to look at what teams are going to do to them and they got to practice some things, and they didn't even execute them that well, but practice some things that teams are going to do. And the first thing, and I put this in the preview, shouts to everybody who's a diehard. I actually did a film breakdown on this. Do you have the graphics, Kale? I'll prompt you here in a sec. So one of the things is that you send the guard-to-guard screen, and when you have KCP on, usually a team has one good defender, one bad defender. Denver does. Murray is the bad defender in the backcourt. Christian Brown's the good defender. So you'll put your best defender on ball. That's Christian Brown. But teams will run guard-to-guard action and space the court appropriately so that you're compromised. You usually just have to switch that action. And last night, the first time they did it, and they were doing it in the fourth quarter, but when they got to the clutch time, the first time they did it, teams just switched. Cam Thomas is out on Jokic, run pick and roll. Murray actually had a bad pass to Jokic that rolled past, got to Christian Brown, and they scored anyway. Mm-hmm. There's a timeout after that. They go to the huddle, a Brooklyn timeout, and they come back out and made an adjustment. And that adjustment was, we're not going to switch. And I knew this was going to be the adjustment. The Nuggets knew this would be the adjustment. We're not going to switch. So pull up the first one here, Kale, and you're going to see, we can't play the video, but I have a clip. It's actually the second one. Go to the other one real quick, Kale. That's all right. There's the first one. So if you look at this is the result of guard-to-guard action. They kind of fake switch for a second, scram switch, and then trap Jamal. So here's two players jumping out at Jamal. You're using Aaron Gordon in the corner instead of the dunker. And you're rolling. What I think will end up happening is that will be an exit screen from Aaron Gordon, and then Christian Brown goes to the corner, and Aaron Gordon will be in the flat or in the dunker spot. Yeah. But what happened is they sold out to trap Jamal, so you can't run two-man game. They're not going to beat us with two-man game. If that's KCP, he just goes to the other wing, and now all of a sudden you have a quick ball reversal, and he has a wide-open three. Denver doesn't want a steady diet of Christian Brown threes, so they rolled him to the basket. Murray delivered him the ball. And because Brooklyn's not very good, Brooklyn did not recover from this well. Christian throws kind of a lollipop pass all the way to the corner for Aaron Gordon, and he knocked it down. You remember this play?
Yeah.
And so this was the first look at, okay, what are they going to do on this one? And it looks like what they're going to do is try to roll Christian and hit him on the roll. And to be honest with you, Christian's going to have to make a play. That's Cam Johnson. Not exactly the world's best rim protector, and he has an outlet with Aaron Gordon in the corner. It wasn't a bad option, but it was the first time I'm really seeing the strategy of who cares what Christian Brown does? Let's just go at Jamal.
Yeah, and this, if you're the Nuggets, has to be expected because last year they had such a defined setup in the clutch with KCP and Michael Porter in the corners and clearing the floor out that way. And look, when you just put Christian Brown in there, teams are going to defend you differently. So it's awesome that the Nuggets are getting this experience right now. And in that scenario, I think Christian's capable of making plays out of that spot and in that role. He can pass. He's a smart player. He's got a high IQ. He's got skills that will suit him in those scenarios. And so he's going to be called upon to make a lot of quick decisions there. And I'm excited because I think he can make those.
I agree. Christian has proven his off the dribble game this year has been way more impressive than I expected. I think a lot of people, sometimes he's going to pop and just have to hit the three. And we were talking before the show or kind of in the chat that he has been a confident shooter. He's not hesitating. He's not really necessarily making a ton, although he hit a big one last night. But he's not hesitating, and I honestly think that's part of it. What do you think Christian's going to shoot in that moment? If instead of rolling, let's say they're going to get 5 of these possessions in the clutch in close games, and one of those is going to be out to the wing, and he's just going to have to shoot it because they're not going to run out on him. If he takes 82 of those, what percent do you think he shoots this year?
Probably 37%.
You win.
Right.
That's good.
That what he shot from 3 last year.
Clutch time offense, you're talking about, what would that be? A 14 offensive rating. That's not bad. You'll take that. You'll take actually it's 121 offensive rating. You'll take that. That's not bad. In the clutch, that's a really good number. It doesn't lend itself to great rebounding, so you really are kind of all right, he's either going to make or not, but it does lend itself to nice transition defense.
Yeah. So I love how confident he's been in taking those threes. And late in the fourth quarter, he took two.
Yep.
One he missed, one he made, and the one he made was one of the biggest shots of the night. He's been stepping up and shooting that with confidence.
Well, I think the one he missed is the next one coming up, which is the very next sequence. You see the trap was actually better before they did that kind of scram trap and then trapped him. And this time they just went right at him and said, we're going to trap.
Miss this one, yeah.
And so they swing it. And this is the play that KCP, that you never ran this against KCP. Actually, teams did sometimes make this choice. But if you're going to, the Nuggets were happy to give KCP that shot. He actually flares out to the wing a little bit more. Nobody runs him off the line. And he took it and missed. And those are the ones I'm talking about. And I agree with you. If you run it, I think Denver's offense will unfold where like this is the first option most nights, where it's like they're going to do this. And here's what's nice about this. Coming out of a timeout, Christian Brown's going to know. You know what's going to happen here. They're going to trap Jamal. The ball's going to swing. I'm going to get to my spot, and I just need to shoot it. And I think knowing sometimes helps out a lot. But you're going to see that's a full-on trap. And those aren't good defenders. I mean, especially Cam Thomas. That is eventually going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Lou Dort. You know, a tough duo to pass out of. But nonetheless, I think Christian Brown is going to get a lot of opportunity here to just say, okay, I know coming out of this timeout, I'm going to get a wing shot. And on top of that, I think Aaron Gordon's going to know coming out of that, when they swing it to him, he's going to shoot it, and I can start going to rebound.
Yeah. Christian just having such a promising start to the season has been so huge for a number of reasons. Just getting his confidence up as, you know, the new member of the starting five. And, you know, he's got guys behind him that are playing well. Strother, Westbrook coming off his best game as a Nugget. The fact that Christian's been so stable and consistent at this point in the season, because if Christian Brown got off to a rough start this season with the guys behind him, with all the pressure on him in that starting five, that could snowball. You know, he could lose confidence, and he's not the same player when he's not confident. So the fact that he's gone off to such a good start this season has been massive.
Really has been, man. And his confidence is going up with it. And I honestly think, like, his defense I knew was good, and it has actually looked really good in large portions this year so far against some tough assignments, including James Harden. I think, and Anthony Edwards would probably be an interesting one for him coming up. Like, that'll be a really interesting. I said all playoffs that I thought he did a better job than KCP on him. This will be, in some ways, our first test of that. You know, that's like, okay, you're going to have to really make an impact on him because he is so much of their offense. But this specific thing, and what's interesting is, so now let's talk about things off it. Because here's a spoiler alert. NBA basketball is really a fourth quarter game.
You don't need to tell Nikola Jokic that.
Well, that's why he knows it.
He's just trying to get to the fourth quarter, not in foul trouble.
Every now and then there's knockout punches early, but teams go on runs, teams come back.
A 20-point lead in the first half in 2024 is so fake.
It's so fake, man. And teams it just has a way of balancing out. And then you get to the late game, which is much more indicative of what a team actually is. Because that's where it's like, okay, both teams now are executing a plan. You don't execute a plan for 48 minutes all the time. You execute broad plans. Run that guy off the line. Box this guy out. You know, whatever. But at the end of games, it's like, we're going to force this. The rotation's going to come from here. And teams just execute that. And that's where it's like, okay, this is like a playoff style game. So I think Christian's going to get looks on the wing off of this action. I think they're going to roll, and as we talked about, he's going to have to start making some shots. But I think some other things Denver is likely to do is to start using double screens up top instead of single ones. And in particular, like, the reason I think that is, you could say, well, why not put Christian in the corner and screen with Michael Porter Jr.?
Right.
But Michael Porter, one, has 3 back surgeries, and I just don't know that he's going to be a guy that can, like, lay some wood, you know, like really hit a guy on that. And also, he's just so skinny. So he's not a guy that's going to be able to, in my opinion, impact that. But I do think they'll try it. I think they'll try that one. So that's one option, is swap those 2 guys in the role and just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the Nuggets are going to have a lot of different looks in these type of scenarios, because even if, you know, last night they had a lot of success in a couple of them that you just highlighted in terms of generating good shots. I mean, the Nuggets are in their starting five is more scoutable this year, it feels like, than it was last year. There's just more things you can throw at them with 2 guys, Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon, that you want to force to beat you from three. Last year, you just had one in that starting five. So the Nuggets are going to need a lot of counters.
Yeah. And on top of that, Christian Braun, KCP was a really good screener, sneaky good for a guy that he was. He just was smart about what angle, jumping at the last second. But Christian Braun, I thought, did a good job of that last night.
He needs to pick up some of KCP's like veteran screening tricks.
Yeah. But he has him because he's kind of a wide-bodied player. So when he screens Cam Thomas or whoever it is, he actually can force that guy to have to go around.
Well, he actually probably doesn't need to rely on the tricks as much because he's bigger
because of that.
and should be just a better, fundamental screener.
But I think one other thing they're going to do is they might start trying to do double high screens at the top. And the reason for that is Michael Porter can't set a great screen. But what you can do is have him set the second screen. So Christian Braun lays down a hard screen.
Yeah.
Porter has to set the second one, which, the contact's not as good, but you're basically a cone. And the guy fights through.
Probably trailing at that point.
He's already trailing. Mike makes him have to go a secondary step out of the way. And now it's easier to generate the switch from Mike's guy. And then from there, you dive KCP out and exit into the corner. So you have the two guys in the corner. And Michael Porter is the reverse. And you might be able to start to generate the switch there. And I think Denver will start to experiment with that here in the coming games.
Yeah. Hopefully. I mean, if you get into the clutch against Minnesota, that's going to feel way different than the clutch against Toronto and Brooklyn. Because like you just said, in that crunch time, that's when you really find out what type of team you are.
Yeah.
That's when, the Nuggets separated from both these teams. They were just a different class of team than the Nets or Raptors. Minnesota, they're 2-2 to start the season as well. They have the same record as the Nuggets. But they're going to be much more ready, you would think, and just much, much more capable, even though they do have a new piece.
Capable because they have a lot of talent. But ready? Something interesting happened in their game last night that I want to talk about on the other side.
Miller Lite. Guys, check it out. It is Miller time here at DNVR. A lot has changed over the years. One thing that hasn't is the great taste of Miller Lite. The original light beer, and to this day, it is still the best light beer. A lot of beers out there, they don't taste great. They taste like water. Miller Lite has more of the taste you want and less of the stuff that you don't. Miller Lite, they keep it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most, a light beer that tastes like beer. Only 96 calories, which means it's less filling. The original light beer since 1975. Again, they keep it simple. Great quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. They've been doing it since 1975. Times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, MillerLite.com/DNVR, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Also, shout out to Bet365.
Shout them out.
Never ordinary. Bet365, now an official partner of the Denver Nuggets and Colorado Avalanche. They're giving new customers in Colorado 2 months of Altitude Plus on them.
This is a crazy deal, man.
I know.
It's a great deal.
You can watch the Nuggets sometimes on Altitude Plus. I actually have the Altitude Plus app.
Really?
I downloaded it, not through Bet365, just on my own. It works. It's good. You can watch Nuggets games most of the time on there, and you can get it when you sign up for Bet365 with the code DNVR365. You can bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets as well, and then get 2 months of Altitude Plus on them. Bet365, an official partner of the Denver Nuggets and Colorado Avalanche. New customers, $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 in 2 months of Altitude Plus. Sign up with the code DNVR365. Once you have that code for signing up, you head over to Altitude Plus, make an account, redeem your code to stream. Limited time, so sign up today, whatever the moment. It is never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, we're back here, segment 2. Make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button for us. We're almost at 100,000. It's going to be this. I think it's Friday. If the Nuggets beat the Timberwolves on Friday, we're going to get it Friday while we're live. We're going to have a little party. I can't wait for it. It's going to be awesome. But you can be a part of it. Help us out. So you said something there about, you were always in the silo of what is our team doing. But every team is trying to figure out new pieces, new concepts, what have you. And they do have a big piece missing in Karl-Anthony Towns. They have 2 new pieces to figure out. And last night, like if you look, their defense has not been, what it was last year so far this year. And especially true when Gobert's not on the court. They used to be able to put Towns out there, and at least you have some interior size and different things. Naz Reid's a horrible defender. Randall and Naz Reid together is like untenable. Last night, they threw out Joe Ingles, who we all love, but he's my age.
Dusted him off?
They dusted him off and threw him out there without Gobert for 4 minutes. And it was horrible. It looked like the worst the Nuggets have looked like in those 4 minutes. And it's honestly why they lost the game, because they got absolutely destroyed. So I say that to say a lot of teams around the NBA are trying to figure out who they are right now.
Yeah.
And teams that have a simple system, like in some ways, Harden creates a simple system. I'm almost not surprised in hindsight that the Clippers are off to a hot start. Just give him the ball, space the floor, and everybody guard well. It's not that hard. And so, all right, they look better now than they probably will all year long. But Minnesota's trying to figure this out. And even last night in the fourth quarter, Gobert has to take a rest at some point, and they went with Randall at center, which we knew they would try out. But when you watch that, I don't know if they're going to try that out because it's a good lineup. They gave up a lot of offensive rebounds in that stretch. And I look at that and I go, they too, right now, have no idea how to play without their core pieces on the court.
Man, that's fascinating. Like their entire feel is different than it was last year, Minnesota. And I've only watched them play one game, I think their first game. But when you sub Towns for Randall, it's just an entirely different feel on the court, offensively, defensively. So I love that the Nuggets are catching Minnesota now. This is a great time for Denver to play them. And the fact that they are searching for a 9th man and have landed on Joe Ingles. We love Joe Ingles. I did see him on the bench, I think, in their opener, and my thought was, that guy doesn't look like he's planning to play much this year.
Yeah. Do you know how many minutes Dillingham has played?
I don't think he's played many.
He has played 0.
In the regular season?
In the regular season.
Wow.
Remember they won the draft by getting him? And look, it's not that surprising, but at the moment, here's the number for you. When Gobert's off the court, 106 possessions already through their 4 games, a 128.3 defensive rating.
How many minutes has PJ Dozier played?
I'm actually not sure.
0.
0 minutes as well?
Yeah.
So there you go. Like they're clearly trying to figure out, I'm sorry, I got the number wrong, 125 defensive rating. Still, I mean, I was off by 3 points. They have not been good when Gobert is not out there at getting stops at all. So, their offense looks okay. They do some fun stuff offensively, but they can't rebound without him on the court.
Yeah.
And they can't get stops around the rim. So you look at that and go, they too are struggling. Indiana is struggling right now. The Knicks are struggling to figure out what their rotation looks like. There's actually a lot of teams that have similar problems to Denver. And I actually think it's a thing around the league right now. Oklahoma City has a great bench. Boston is developing a good bench against all odds somehow.
Well, both those teams also pretty much have the same exact rosters as last year.
Yeah. But everyone else, man, the NBA is kind of top heavy roster by roster. Like a lot of teams have a good starting 5.
Most benches suck.
Most benches suck right now, and are flawed. They suck in a certain direction. Like, oh, that's a bench. Houston can't shoot off their bench. Some teams no size off their bench, so it's kind of a thing. And I think that'll be an interesting sort of thing to kind of look at. I think Denver's going to have a hard time with their starters this next game because we know how tough that matchup can be with Gobert and different pieces. But the bench, you hope, can take advantage and actually score the basketball against a really bad defense.
It is a bad defense, but Minnesota's, their top 3 off their bench are still pretty scary. Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I mean, those 3 guys, like, just looking at them on paper, they would run Denver's bench out of the gym.
I mean, they're good defensively in particular, not Naz Reid. I mean, you're worried about Naz Reid scoring, but those other guys are like, Nickeil Alexander-Walker's a little bit like Christian Brown offensively. Like every now and then he goes 4 or 5. And I think he did last night. I think he's shooting hot so far this year, but he also goes 4 or 5.
The bench matchup in this for sure.
So I think that'll be. So I think there'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on and just kind of see how Denver goes. But a lot of teams are struggling with their bench right now. Let's go to 5 things we've learned about the Nuggets.
Okay.
First one I have written down here. Last year in the playoffs, Minnesota knew they could pressure Denver, and Denver didn't have a lot of ball handlers. So you add Russell Westbrook. And hopefully Strother was getting full court press the other day and did mixed results. Christian Brown has got it. I think teams are going to full court press Denver all year long. And there's surprisingly a lot of good on-ball defenders now. Like, this isn't just Denver. I think all teams are looking around and going, there's not a lot of ball handling in the league, like point guard play in the league. So a lot of teams are starting to do this against everyone. But I think Denver in particular knows they can wear Murray down, and you get a small win before the play even begins if you just force Christian Brown to bring the ball up.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're an opposing defense, that's an obvious strategy against the Nuggets. If you just watched last year and watched the playoffs, like if you pressure them, take them out of their flow offensively, take them out of their half-court offense for just a second where they're so good and so elite, that can throw the Nuggets off. So they've given some ball handling responsibilities to Aaron Gordon. Nikola Jokic, I don't know if you've looked at like his touches this season, leading the league by a ton.
Well, he's playing 47 minutes a game at the moment.
So. But also, he seems like he's bringing the ball up the floor this year way more than last year.
Yeah.
You've obviously got Jamal, Russell Westbrook. Christian Brown has brought the ball up a bunch. So I think Denver's aware of that, and they're trying to spread it out in terms of who has ball handling responsibilities.
And Malone had that interesting comment in camp this year where he said, we're experimenting with Jokic handling more this year.
They're definitely experimenting a lot.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that's one way to beat Gobert. But you know what they did last year in the playoffs is put somebody else on Jokic. And then because it takes so long to get the ball, of course, half court, and then just switch Gobert. So Gobert gets to go back and rest. And then he switches on in the half court when things slow down. But they're going to put, likely Nickeil Alexander-Walker and or Anthony Edwards on Murray, full court press. Okay, who else is bringing the ball up? You have Jaden McDaniels, who they like to put on Michael Porter because it allows him to play rim protector and still challenge or this or that. But if they get in a pinch, they can always play Dante DiVincenzo or Jaden McDaniels on the other ball handler. So if you have, just theoretically, Anthony Edwards full court pressing Murray, he's got to get rid of it. Jaden McDaniels full court pressing Christian Brown, he's got to get rid of it. Like, that's the thing that I think a lot of teams are going to look at and say, when push comes to shove in the clutch, Denver wants to go to those five guys. We're going to force Jokic to bring the ball up, force Aaron Gordon to bring the ball up, force Michael Porter to bring the ball up, if they have the enough defenders to take away Denver's 1 and 2 option.
Yeah. And I mean, Minnesota's a team that's more equipped than pretty much anybody else to do that.
Yep.
They got the long, rangy defenders. They've got the guys that are going to get in your face and pressure you. So it should be an interesting test.
Oklahoma City also, and Alex Caruso has been so good. I mean, all their guys are good at this, but Alex Caruso, when he comes into the game, it's like, okay, everyone's tired. I've been on the bench for 6 minutes. Full court press. Just speed everybody up, and he's so good at it, and he's so good at full court pressing and then sprinting. They do the same thing where it's like wear him down until half court and then switch
off.
And then he's just like full court presses. You know how hard that is to defensive slide against an NBA player for 8 seconds and then sprint to the corner to like find your assignment. But yes, Minnesota has guys that can do that. So I think Denver, it's going to be a real storyline, and I think tomorrow will be our second. Oklahoma City provided the first view of this. I think tomorrow we're going to really get a look at this. I mean, Davion Mitchell and Shed, is it Jalen Shed? I can't remember what his first name is.
Jamal
Shed? Is that what it is? Jamal Shed. They did this, like they were able to disrupt Denver more. I was kind of surprised, and I think it's one of the reasons that bad team was able to stay in it against Denver. But I think tomorrow night.
Did you know Alex Caruso is only playing 21 minutes a game?
I did know that.
He's averaging 1.7 points per game.
I mean, and is dominant.
Not even looking to shoot, and is just shutting down half the court.
He really does,
or one side of the court.
It's kind of his perfect role, because imagine the energy he gets to put out in 21 minutes.
Right. He can go like 95% on defense, 5% on offense.
and it works for them, man. They're a scary team. Number 2, we know this one already. Jokic's going to have to score a lot. I predict this will be his highest scoring season of his career. I know it's crazy, but I think that's the number one stat that he's almost certainly, and we all know he's going to have to take and make a lot of threes. And so far, I've always said it's all about like his mentality. I feel like he is like in shooter's mode, and I kind of think he's going to shoot well.
He went into that mode after one game.
Yeah.
He was like, well, I guess it's going to be that kind of year. But there is a difference, though, I think, between Jokic shooting more and Jokic like expending too much energy. Because naturally you think, oh, if he's got to shoot it more, he's going to tire out throughout the rest of the season. But I do think there are ways that the Nuggets can conserve him a little bit, even if he's averaging the most points of his career. The three-pointer, I mean, if he levels up from 3 this year, he might average his career high, like without even taking more shots per se.
But don't you think that part of Jokic's level up, Murray getting hurt, and it's like, all right, I have to take on more responsibilities, and it made him a better player. And part of me wonders if this year, like we all ask, how can Jokic get better? And we all said, well, the 3-point shot, but I don't know if it happened. If this year, his whole focus all year is on that, and then it just becomes part of his rhythm. Like once you get comfortable doing it for a whole year, it's like, okay, now that's in my arsenal. And there's a little part of me that goes, could this be the Jokic volume scoring and volume 3-point shooting year in a way that even if it's not relied upon in future years, he still is more comfortable than ever taking that many?
What's the MVP odds on Bet365, Kale? Probably.
There's no way he could win it, man. Even though he's going to put up these monster numbers.
No way.
Well, Denver's going to have to be a top 2 seed, man.
I put in a bet the other night. I think they're not going to have any choice.
So
I think they're not going to have a choice.
For his career, he averages 2.9 threes a game. He's taking 5 a game right now. And he didn't take any last game, right?
That's a massive, massive jump. You don't see players like top scorers take that kind of jump.
You really don't. I mean, he did have a season.
Maybe Anthony Edwards.
In 2022, the Murray-less season, he did take 3.9. So there is some precedent for him increasing it. But 5, and like I said, that number was higher until the 0-for-0 game last game. So that number might actually be disguised.
Well, you don't go up against Nick Claxton every day at center.
Jokic is at plus 800. It's the value play right now. It
Who's
really
ahead of him?
is.
Who's ahead of him?
Jason Tatum, Shea, and Luka.
I was talking about this with the guys out there. I wish I could do a MVP exact order finish bet.
Yeah. Is that it? Is it just like that?
I would bet SGA, Jokic, Doncic.
Tatum's just going to get squeezed out, huh?
Yeah.
Here's what
They're going to win like 65 games, but he's not going to have the points because of how well they spread the ball around.
I think that they're going to have at least 10. Boston and Oklahoma City will have at least 10 more wins than Denver. That's how I think this season will go. And it's possible it's even 15. Like those teams could get up to 63, 64, 65.
Right.
Denver, we'll see if they stabilize, but I just don't think this is an easy 55 win season. Like
OKC already has a 0.5 game lead in the West.
0.5.
3-0.
There you
Only
go.
undefeated team in the West.
And I just think it's going to be hard to say 15 games or whatever. I just don't know if he'll win it, but whatever. Who cares? But taking threes, I just think he'll take a lot of them. And at the moment, it looks like he's going to make a lot. Number 3,
the wrist looks good.
Oh, all right. Let's take a break on the other side. Number 3 is 4 and 5. Thanks, Gil.
Shout out to UC Health and their Ready, Set, Co campaign. Very excited to partner up with our friends over at UC Health. Coach Prime wants to help you and other Coloradans be your healthiest selves. As the Chief Motivation Officer of UC Health's Ready, Set, Co challenge, the goal of the challenge, very simple. Get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state. Apparently, we've fallen off. Got to get back. We got to reclaim our title as the healthiest state. We got to remind them. Here are some things to keep in mind when it comes to your sleep to be your healthiest self. 8 hours of sleep, that's the magic number. Put your phone down when you go to bed. Maybe try some guided sleep apps. There are a lot of great apps out there that can tell you how good of a night of sleep you had, how many times you wake up, when you're in your deepest sleep. So if you want to join UC Health's Ready, Set, Co challenge, click the link in the show notes. Go to www.uchealth.org/readysetco. The goal of their challenge, get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state. Also, if you need tickets to concert show sporting events, check out the Game Time app. It's the best place to get tickets. It's where we at DNVR go to get tickets for Nuggets games, Avs games, Broncos games, whatever it might be. Concert show sporting events. Game Time, it's your go-to. Game Time picks. Their curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. All-in pricing, you can see right on the screen. Your all-in pricing. You're not going to get hit with random fees at the end. They got seat views from every seat before you buy. The lowest price guarantee. Game Time ticket coverage as well. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account. Redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Game time.
All right, back here, segment 3 of the DNVR Nuggets podcast. Let's get on to the 5 things we know about the Nuggets. Number 3, Westbrook's not going to change. But Denver can change around him. And I think that just through these games, I mean, Westbrook was good. He was a big part of it. Jokic gave him a shout out in his post-game commentary, said he's a great teammate. He's always on guys. But Westbrook is not going to, one, slow down, nor should he. He should be playing fast. But two, he's going to miss. I don't know that his approach is always going to be to try to set the table for others. Like, he's in attack mode at all times.
Oh, yeah.
It's part of what makes him good is his first thought is, like, when he catches the ball, his first thought is, can I get to the paint? Can I get to the rim?
Yeah.
And his second thought is, like, can I get the rim this way? Like, he did that. That's kind of his decision making. So he's not going to change in ways that set the table. And that's why I do wonder if they're going to need a rotational change, try some different pieces out there. But even Julian Strawther, I think, and Peyton Watson are probably going to have to adjust their games. Get with him and say, hey, what do you want from me? Because I need more touches. Julian Strawther needs more touches in staggered lineups. Michael Porter needs more touches. How can they find him? I'm not sure yet. All I know is watching Westbrook, he's good at the thing he does, and he's going to focus on that step 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a surprise. We thought that's how Russell Westbrook was going to play here. And I mean, look, his number one skill, getting to the paint, to the rim, getting to the foul line, dribble penetration, putting pressure on the defense that way. The Nuggets need some of that. But yeah, it's going to be on the Nuggets. And look, it's going to be on Michael Malone to find ways, like you were saying, to get Julian Strawther, Michael Porter, great 3-point looks and just great looks on offense with that group. I love the direction the bench is heading. I love that they've gone away from the Jamal stagger. They're closer now, way closer to finding the best bench lineup than they were at the beginning of the season. And I think there's an okay bench in here somewhere.
Yeah.
I think they're getting closer to it. I don't think they're there, but I think there's maybe not a great, maybe not even a good, but an okay second unit in there that can keep them afloat in the non-Jokic minutes. And they're, in my opinion, closer to finding it than they were, a week ago.
Do you think that they need to, like, if Westbrook, because I don't think he's going to have the mentality of, like, I need to set the table for Julian. Do you think they need to, like, script plays so that they kind of learn? Sometimes you run a play that also materializes naturally, like a simple play, flare screen and then cut or something, and you script that out. And then later on, you run it just within the flow of the offense because it's like, we're used to that chemistry. Do you think they need to orchestrate things more off the bench to, like, build that?
I think so. I think they need a couple plays in their offensive bench package for Julian Strawther. He is such a key to this team this year because if he becomes a dynamic 3-point shooter, if he becomes a consistent scorer off the bench, that's just going to help out so much. I don't think he's getting enough looks right now in his minutes.
I agree.
He's playing 20 minutes a game, 20-something minutes, which is up from what he played in the first 2 games. I like that his minutes have gone up. But they've got to find a way to get him more looks within the bench offense. And I think the best way to do that with who they're going to have out there, with Westbrook out there, handling the ball and being the focal point and the leader of that group, is by scripting some plays.
I think so, too. And I think Westbrook is freestyling a little bit, too, in a way that the coaching staff themselves is probably learning. Like, okay,
yeah,
like, all right, we're going to have to adjust to that as well.
And look, the bench has been so bad. I'm not that mad at Westbrook for freestyling a little bit.
They won because of it.
Because I do think part of the calculus with the Nuggets bringing in Westbrook was, hey, the bench has been so bad, like, why not? Let's just give him the keys and see what happens.
Right.
And so I think some of that is good.
Yeah. Peyton, number 4. Peyton is extremely important to the success of this team. I know we all kind of have differences of who is the most important X factor and different things. I think Peyton might be the biggest one. And the reason I say that is he might have the widest range of outcomes, but the Nuggets desperately need his good outcome to hit. They don't have two-way players. And he's not a two-way player at the moment. Like, offensively, he's rough. But he's the guy that I think most likely can become one. And more importantly, point-of-attack defense is so big for the Nuggets. It might be the number one most important thing in the NBA. The NBA is becoming a point-of-attack defense league. It's become so valuable because all these teams switch in ISO over and over again. He has to be in the arsenal of guys that Malone trusts to play 25-plus minutes a night. And he's only going to do that if, 1, he's more disciplined defensively, and 2, if he's offensively competent. And at the moment, it's been a mixed bag. He's coming back from injury. I understand it. He's not getting a lot of stuff called for him. But to me, Michael Malone has to look at their roster and say, okay, what do we have in the playoffs? I like our starting 5. Julian can be a shooter. Russ is going to handle the ball. Peyton is the guy that you hope can be an every night guy and a guy that you throw at in a Dallas series or an Oklahoma City series. You throw him on the best player for large minutes.
Yeah.
And right now, through 4 games, that Malone clearly is like working on his trust with him. And again, the injury textures some of this. But to me, I just think he's probably the most important X factor on the roster.
Yeah, I think it textures a lot of it, the injury. Like, am I surprised that he's struggled? No. Like, this has been totally expected, I think. When you're a young player and you miss all of training camp, that's tough. And especially when you're a guy in Peyton Watson's position who, he's not in the easiest spot in the rotation. Like, playing his role off the bench, it's a tough spot to be in. And it's a tough spot to be in when you miss the whole preseason. Yeah. And you miss all those reps. So, not surprised that he's struggled. I am glad Michael Malone has stuck with him so far for the most part, although his minutes have dwindled a little bit in some of these games. But yeah, he has got to be, the elite defender that he was for parts of last season. And I love your point about the on-ball defense, because that's a big worry of mine with the Nuggets. And they got beat a lot with dribble penetration in that Nets game. They let guys get into the paint. Christian Brown did. I have not been impressed with Aaron Gordon's on-ball defense. I feel like it's been pretty bad so far.
He's ramping up.
Yeah. Michael Porter, not great. So on-ball is a huge concern.
On-ball, I feel like Michael Porter's way better than off-ball. Like, on-ball,
that's a good point.
He does do some stuff. Michael Porter's defense more concerns me than the off-ball stuff. But the last one I have is just that it won't be easy. And I'm telling Nuggets Nation this right now. It was why I was low on them coming into the season, and people got mad, and I said, but I still think they can win a title. The thing is that this year is not going to be like the previous ones. This one is going to, in many ways, be a build-up. And the Nuggets right now are low, but that's just my thing is, like, I look at this roster and I go, it can win. Jokic is still Jokic, maybe better than ever. We're going to talk about Murray here in a second, but it's just not going to be easy. And if you reset your expectations to, all right, this is a team that is playing, early season, they're just building things on. Can we see month-by-month progress? And if so, I think March and April can be really fun. But I think October and November, your expectations should be that this team is going to probably be worse than the Minnesotas and the Dallases of the year. But they just think about it more as what they're going to become, not what they are at the moment.
Yeah. And I think the Nuggets right now and like projecting forward, they're going to be in a comfortable place. They're more comfortable when nobody's talking about them. Yeah. When they're the underdog.
They're going to get flexed off of national television a few times
flex
this year.
us off. Please flex us off. Me and the Nuggets would love nothing more than to have more games at regular times in the night.
Oh, that's like music to our ears. Denver's been flexed off of TNT, and we'll have a start time of 7 p.m.
You're going to move me from an 8:30 to a 7 o'clock start? Let's go, man. Let's go.
With righteous indignation to go with it, I'll take it, man.
The Nuggets are so much more comfortable in that spot. And
well, they're there.
They're definitely there. They're probably not going to move out of it. I was talking about the narrative being set earlier. The Nuggets are, quote, in trouble for the next month.
Yeah.
Until they go on like a big run, according to the national media. So they're in a comfortable spot.
A couple things we don't know. I think the difference between regular season Jamal Murray and playoff Jamal Murray is his ability to get around guys. And a lot of people are worried, like, he's good in the regular season at the sidestep, the step back, the threes, the pick and roll, whatever. But just you get somebody matched up on you and you get around him. I think Jamal Murray, can he get around guys, is something we just don't know. I think he's going hard.
We don't know yet.
He's going hard, but he's not having success with that part of his game at the moment, even though he's trying it, which I'm glad he's trying it.
Yeah. I love that he's being aggressive and getting shots up. Like, it would be a bad sign right now if he was, through 4 games and only shooting it like 10 times a game. Like, that'd be a bad sign. But the fact that he's getting up 20 shots, I know the efficiency hasn't been there, but I'd rather that than the other option.
Can Saric play? This is another one where, like, at the moment the answer is no, but the question is more like, can he, or is he just like a sunk cost at this point? I don't think we know that. Do you have any quick thoughts on that?
I think I said it last night. He's not this bad. He's just not, man. He was very capable for much of the season last year in Golden State. Fell off towards the end, but very capable. He's not this bad.
Is he a Minnesota matchup? Naz Reid, Julius Randle?
No.
Okay, so maybe that's the game to rest him. Although poor Zeke Naji going out there. Like, Julius Randle is a load. If you have to stagger lineup and go guard him, poor Zeke Naji, he might get hurt. Julius Randle puts his shoulder into everybody like 20 times a game. The last one I have is more interesting. Who should play the most with Jokic? And your point about Julian Strawther and the bench finding him minutes, I think, is right. But I think more right is I like Strother with Jokic.
Well, that's how they subbed the last game.
But I almost wonder if we can go even further with it. And I honestly think as I look at that, I just go, I want Strother playing more minutes with Jokic. I just think that he can maximize some of the different things. And Michael Porter, as good as he is, the drop-off between him and the starters bench might not be as dramatic, especially with Westbrook handling the ball as much as he is.
It's also just an easier way to get Strother going, too.
100%. And maybe he can bring some of that. Like, okay, now he's getting confident, turning the corner on a DHO, and he can take that to the bench unit. So I kind of want to see Strother up his minutes with Jokic in staggered combos.
Yeah, I just want to see him get more opportunities, more plays called for him. Reward him.
Yeah.
And I feel like Michael Malone shouldn't have any problem doing that with how much we know he likes Strother. You know, he was great in Summer League, great in the preseason. He's done everything right. Let's reward him with some plays called for him.
Likewise, I wouldn't mind seeing more minutes with Christian Brown and Peyton Watson with Jokic. That lineup combo hasn't been great, CB and Peyton Watson, but both of them are all bench lineups. I kind of would like to see it because both of them can guard so well. I'd be curious to see what those elite defensive lineups look like. Denver's already not shooting the ball well. You might as well try Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson. If any duo can save it, it's the Jokic-Murray duo. And I'm just saying, at this moment, I hope we see at least a little bit of it. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we'll hop into the mailbag and answer your mailbag questions.
Shout out to Toyota.
Shout 'em out.
Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Love Toyota, man. They've got everything that you could be looking for when you're buying a car. They've got trucks. Trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA. They're perfect for Colorado. If you're conquering the off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck for you, like the all-new 2024 Tacoma. Maybe check out the iconic 2024 Land Cruiser. Toyota offers 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the Epic 4Runner. They also offer more low and zero-emission vehicles combined than any other automaker. 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max Hybrid. They've also got the RAV4, the Grand Highlander. So many great choices from Toyota. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Group Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets and the official vehicle of DNVR. Also check out Premier Members Credit Union. Premier Members Credit Union. It's getting more and more difficult to save money right now. That's why you need to make smart money moves like joining Premier Members Credit Union. Unlike big banks, PMCU, they are truly invested in their members and communities. They are a financial institution based right here in Colorado. It's an organization that serves the community and the Colorado community in particular. That means local branches, friendly tellers, and the tools that you need to save smarter, like reverse tier money market. It's the account you need to get ahead and stay ahead in this economy. Check out Premier Members Credit Union's reverse tier money market. It's a game changer for your finances and your life. So why not see what they can do for you? Check out becomepremier.com or check out the link in our show notes to learn more.
All right, back here, final segment. We asked you for your Denver Nuggets questions. Kale has those for us. Let's see what we got.
The mailbag.
The old mailbag.
What is in the mailbag?
You want to read these?
From Gregor, what player on the Nuggets having a 50-point game this season would be the funniest and most enjoyable to watch?
I like this one. Funniest? I mean, funniest is like Zeke Naji, but if we're trying to be
That would be
realistic,
funny. Yeah,
the most
realistic.
fun to watch. I still think
Strother?
I think Michael Porter still.
Is it on the table for Strother? Probably
Yeah,
not.
Probably. I mean, 0.1% chance. I don't think he can get 50. He could probably have. I wouldn't be surprised if he had like a 35-point outburst.
Right.
You know, that I could see it
10
happening.
threes.
Yeah, just like really hot from three and plays extended minutes.
Yeah.
Somebody's out of the lineup.
So it's probably MPJ out of the realistic options.
It's Michael Porter, man. Like when he gets hot, it also just would change things. Like I feel like his cold shooting is having a compounding effect. You have a 50-point game, or even just like a 7 threes game. Guess how hard the team's guarding you the next game. They are full on. Nobody leaves this guy.
Yeah. What about Westbrook?
Westbrook would also be pretty hilarious, but I honestly can't. I can see Strawther over Westbrook having a 50-piece.
I mean, Westbrook, he'd have to hit so many threes. I mean, he's been really hot and really cold so far, so he could be hot for a whole game.
Maybe. I see him having good games, but scoring-wise, I don't think he's
Jamal Murray out of the lineup.
I don't know what his high. I looked this up before the season of what his high was the last like 3 seasons, and I think it was 30.
Okay, so no chance.
That was like 3 seasons. You know, like before
Yeah.
that, obviously he always had some outbursts, but it's been a minute, man. It's been a minute. All right, what else, Kale? Matthew Kimura says, what is your panic meter on the bench so far through 4 games for each player? 1 being not worried at all, 10 being trade this guy right now. Each player, Russell Westbrook.
5.
That's neutral.
Yeah.
I'd say mine's probably a 6, like slightly above, just because he does still take more shots than I wish he didn't. You know, like the one-legged Dirk fadeaway, he's taken, I think, in every single game so far this year.
He's got to get one in. It's the quota.
And I would not mind him not, but 6 still pretty low. Julian Strawther, like a 3, 2, 0. Yeah, like low.
Not panicked at all.
Peyton Watson, I actually am going to go 6 for me. He's hurt. That's why. But I will say that they need him, and like it's a slow start because of the injury, but they need him.
Yeah. I mean, the thing you worry about with Peyton is just like if this goes on for longer, do the Nuggets like move away from him in the rotation? Because he's kind of after Saric, he's the next lowest guy in the totem pole.
I don't think so. I don't
think it will happen either.
I think Denver doesn't have options there. Like they have options for Saric.
Yeah.
Some. They don't have options for Peyton Watson, and also like
They need him to be
If
good.
you give up on Peyton Watson, what is the path to the Nuggets winning? They're not going to do that. I think he has a long runway, and I think he looks better here in the coming weeks. I will say one thing about Peyton Watson: mistakes for young players hurt more than good plays help.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the timing and everything's a little off. I hope over the next 10 games, very low mistake player. That'd be my hope for him.
Saric is the one I'm probably most panicked about.
What's the number?
7. Just
That's
because he's
low.
looked so bad.
That's pragmatic wind, man. He barely moves.
I mean, 4 games.
It's 4
I
games.
can't be at a 10 or 9 with anybody, but I mean, Saric, I cannot believe how bad he's looked. Again, he's not this bad a player. He's just not. But I mean, what if he's just cooked?
I'm going 9. I'm way higher. I'm way less pragmatic than pragmatic wind. I'm going 9, and the reason is the sequence was they signed Saric first, even though the deals I think kind of came hand in hand. Signed Saric first, and then Westbrook, and it was like Saric. I'm intrigued. Westbrook and Saric, I don't like that. And now watching it play out, I kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
Saric is good if you slow it down and play through him and this or that. Westbrook's not going to do that. He's going to play the way he plays. And I just look at it and I go, I don't know if this guy fits what the Nuggets are doing. And on top of that, his post numbers were really good in the last couple of years, but you watch him post up here and you're like, man, that looks terrible.
What happened?
I don't know. I mean, he's shaking a little. He's shaking a little.
His confidence is in the gutter.
So
right
I'm
now.
not fully like give up on him, but I am a 9. I'm not
You're
like
close.
I'm close. I'll tell you where I'm at. I would love to see another look.
Yeah.
I would love to see another look for a little bit.
We would have loved to see another look last game. We were talking about that.
Yeah. Hartenstein only got 4 games.
Some 11s in the chat.
In an
on
empty arena.
Saric, from a 1 to 10.
COVID arena.
Saric is a little scary. But that was a good question. It was a fun little
But
exercise.
the funny thing is, when they signed Saric, again, it was before Westbrook, but we liked it. You could see the vision,
Yeah.
Jokic light on the second. That's the type of player he is.
Well, what was the tweet you shared the other day?
It-
He's like Jokic, except for he can't.
if Jokic couldn't run, pass, or shoot, he'd be Saric.
Pass, dribble, shoot, rebound, all those things. You're right. He's not this bad, but I do worry that the fit is. I worry he's in a tight spot, and maybe it's easier to figure out the other pieces and then bring him into that than it is to figure it all out at once. I don't know. We'll see. Jeremy J. Rock Michael says, do you feel that the Nuggets make any moves this season, or do we continue to work through it and figure it out? I'll tell you this. Did you find it interesting at all? There was 3 people on the broadcast seated together last night. Did you notice?
On the broadcast.
Up in the stands, there was, I believe it was Josh Kroenke,
I didn't
Kevin
see this.
Demoff, and Calvin Booth.
I didn't see this at all.
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Those three. Don't read into anything of that. Those guys are always together.
Talking about Altitude Plus, maybe.
We're maybe talking about, man, I didn't realize we weren't on TV. We thought we were on TV.
We're not on Fubo?
Hold on. So
Wait, and we told everybody to buy it?
Kevin's sitting in the middle like, my bad. Yeah.
Yes.
I will say, though, man, Denver doesn't have a lot of options trade-wise.
Well, that's for sure.
They've
That's
got, what,
correct.
a 2031 unprotected and 3 swaps they can offer? I think that's the max.
Well, you know what's interesting is they do have some protections they could lift should they want to trade with one Oklahoma City.
That's scary.
That's very
But I
scary.
mean, why not? We're all going to be dead by then. Anyway.
Aaron Wiggins or something, and it's like, all right, well, we're no longer protected for some
like
of these
him.
ones, but we can get Aaron Wiggins. Because I don't know what kind of player you can get, honestly. Like,
Not a great one.
But if Oklahoma City wanted to make a bet on like a 2029, Denver's going to give us an unprotected pick. Like,
Yeah.
maybe they're willing to.
They've always liked Zeke Naji.
They've always liked him, so maybe they're willing to do something like that. Denver's in a tight spot, man. They have to make it work. And is there a trade to be had? We'll see.
I mean, it's probably going to depend a lot on just how long they can go with this shooting.
Yeah.
Does the shooting get to a point where it's just losing them a ton of games?
What city do the Cronkies live in the most of the time? I think Josh, London. I think Stan, Montana. I think they travel a lot. All right, what else we got?
Montana most of the time.
Denver probably third. Tyler Key says, at what point do the Nuggets give Zeke Naji another chance? Saric has been lackluster, put it kindly, and Naji has the 5th highest salary on the team. It is insane to think they could be time. It works out for him. That this could be the time. I don't think it's insane at all, man. I don't think fit is such a big part of this. Confidence is a big part of this. Opportunity is it's so much bigger than people realize. And to me, the Nuggets needed to stabilize. They stabilized. I think it's time to experiment. Sometimes the experiment's a disaster, but as I've highlighted, a lot of teams are playing some pretty wild end-of-bench guys in their rotation earlier and surviving them. Can Denver do the same?
Also, the groundwork is laid for Zeke Naji to look pretty good compared to Saric.
Yep.
You just think about the guy that he might be replacing. And I'm with you. I think it's time to mix it up a little bit. They've stabilized. They're back to 2-2. We can mix it up a little bit and be okay.
It is also funny to think, like, you see the Nuggets offensive rating is 80 per 100%, 80 offensive rating with Jokic off the floor.
Bad.
That's so bad. It's like laughably bad. It's funny to think like, well, Zeke's going to ruin that. It's like, what if we can't score?
Goes
like,
down to 60.
Yeah, which it could.
Zeke did draw the victory card as well. Cannot forget.
I'm so
Cannot forget.
The Zeke arc to me would actually be such a cool arc, man. Such a cool arc. The Freak,
Freak 22.
DNA.
In or out on candy corn?
Out. Candy corn's gross. That's a disgusting
Probably
flavor.
out.
That's a disgusting flavor.
In on candy corn. These guys are
Not
wrong.
surprising. Not at all surprising. That was your
Out
most
of all
Iowa
the
take.
candy you could have.
I know, candy corn. That was like the original candy. The Neanderthals
back when we
made
had
it.
no other good options.
What else we got?
KB, the Nuggets have had multiple centers struggle as backups to Jokic and then find success elsewhere.
I've been saying.
We're already counting Huff in this, I guess. Huff,
Hey, kind of. He's playing.
Hartenstein as examples. They are clearly playable. Why do they struggle in Denver? How do the Nuggets keep these kinds of players?
I think this is a legitimate question to ask.
So some people are on this J Huff thing. We can just start there. Some people are like, oh, how can you get mad at the Nuggets for losing a two-way player that other teams have missed out on? And the other half is, and I fall in the other half, it's like, yeah, they missed an opportunity. It's because they don't play him at all. They don't try him out.
That's my point, man.
And look, J Huff, yes, I know he flamed out with the Lakers. He might have flamed out with another team before that. But the Nuggets are in a position with how bad the second unit has been where they could play a guy like J Huff for 5 games, 10 games, and see what he has. It's not like the bench is going to get that much worse. And J Huff, he was the G League Defensive Player of the Year. He came to Denver as like one of the premier two-way guys, and he never played. He's already played more minutes in Memphis than he played all of last year with the Nuggets. And all those minutes he played with the Nuggets were in garbage time. So I am definitely on the side of, there is a pattern here. They do miss out on some guys because they just don't see what they have in them. And would J Huff have been a player here? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. But they didn't even see what he could do.
Jalen Pickett gets picked up and has a Huff-like
I'm going to
resurgence.
stop you right there.
If that happens, Oh my God. I've had to mute Pickett from my Twitter feed because people every time anything bad happens to the Nuggets, they're like, "Oh, where's Pickett at?" I'm like, all right, guys, got that one wrong. What do we got here? 5555-ish. I was sick yesterday. I can't believe I missed the Westbrook game. 6 minutes are flatlining. We need an injection of minute stat. This would be the saddest recurring bit if this number just never changes all year. The countdown never takes off. We're getting Zeke minutes to man. Maybe. Where's Zeke from?
Minnesota.
What? Wait, what? Where the Nuggets are playing their next game?
This has never. Well, he is from Minnesota, but this has never correlated before.
This never has. It really never has.
There's
Been a lot of opportunities.
born in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Hey, it was
2001.
Mr. Basketball, Minnesota.
All right, what else we got? Mr. Exquisite Nugget. Just give Yoke MV4. Doesn't have the same ring to it, MV4.
Not at all.
P.S. I'm almost at 40 subs, guys. Peace. There you go.
Thank you,
Dirty
Cedric.
40. And then Taimir Tahir says, a win against Minnesota will fix all the vibes and get us back on track quickly. Hope the boys take it seriously and go all out. Are you kidding me? A win against the team that knocked you out in their building?
We're back.
Oh, we would be so back. I have low expectations for tomorrow. I just think Denver's on the climb, and that's probably a challenge beyond their scope. But basketball's basketball. Anything can happen. I would give their odds at like 35% chance of winning or something like that. That's not impossible. Just I think they're going to be underdogs for a reason. But if they win,
huge.
if they win,
Huge.
oh my God. Friday night, Satire Lounge afterwards, little party. It's happening.
Look, I'm there.
We're there, man. Come on, Nuggets. Get us there. If we get Minnesota win, 100,000 subscribers, party at the DNVR bar because it's a Friday night.
And a satire push. That's a legendary night.
We're all walking to Satire on Friday night afterwards to have a little good time. For real, though, we are off tomorrow, guys. Come down to the DNVR bar for Friday. It will be a good time. And like I said, it's one of those things where if you get a win on a Friday night against a rival, you're going to want to be in the company of other Nuggets fans.
Absolutely.
And that will be an absolute party. And if we hit 100,000, who knows, man? Brandon Spano might buy the whole bar a round of shots.
Well, I wouldn't go that.
I might not go that far, but thanks for hanging out with us. Everybody, hit that like button on the way out.